Depression doesn't always look like sadness and tears. Sometimes it wears a perfect smile and laughs at all the right moments. Many people walk through their days appearing happy and successful while secretly struggling with deep emotional pain that nobody can see. This invisible form of depression affects millions of people who have learned to mask their true feelings so well that even their closest friends and family members have no idea what they're going through. When someone is smiling but depressed, they become experts at putting on a show. They show up to work with energy, crack jokes with friends, and post happy photos on social media. But behind that cheerful face is someone who feels empty, exhausted, and disconnected from the world around them. The scary part about this type of depression is how easy it is to miss. These people don't fit the typical picture of depression that most of us recognize. They don't stay in bed all day or cry openly. Instead, they function at a high level while battling intense emotional struggles that remain completely hidden from view. Today, we're going to explore 5 clear signs that someone might be smiling on the outside but suffering from depression on the inside. These signs are subtle but powerful indicators that can help you recognize this condition in yourself or others. Each sign we'll discuss represents a real pattern that mental health experts have identified through years of research and clinical experience. It's crucial that you don't skip any part of this video because each sign builds on the previous one. To save time while getting all the important information, watch this video at 1.5 or 2 times speed instead of jumping around or skipping sections. Now let's talk about something that might sound familiar. Have you ever been at a party where someone is cracking jokes, dancing, and seems to be having the time of their life, but something just feels off? Maybe they're trying a little too hard, or their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. Well, congratulations, you might have just witnessed an Oscar-worthy performance. People with smiling depression don't just wake up one day and decide to become actors. It happens slowly, like learning to ride a bike, except instead of balancing on 2 wheels, they're balancing their entire emotional existence. They master the art of giving people exactly what they want to see. When someone asks how they're doing, they have their lines memorized perfectly. I'm great, thanks for asking. Just living the dream. Can't complain. These responses roll off their tongues so naturally that even they start to believe them sometimes. But here's where it gets really interesting. The amount of energy it takes to maintain this performance is absolutely exhausting. Think about the last time you had to pretend to enjoy a boring movie with friends. Remember how tired you felt afterward from just pretending for 2 hours? Now imagine doing that for months or even years, every single day, with every single person you encounter. These individuals become the friends everyone calls when they need cheering up. They're the ones who always have encouraging words, who never seem to have problems of their own, who appear to have everything figured out. They become professional emotional support systems for others, while their own emotional tank is running on empty. It's like being a gas station that never gets refueled. The scariest part is that they start avoiding being alone because that's when the mask comes off. When there's nobody around to perform for, the exhaustion hits them like a truck. The smile fades, the energy disappears, and suddenly they're face to face with all the feelings they've been pushing down all day. So they fill their schedules, always making plans, always staying busy, because silence and solitude reveal the truth they're working so hard to hide. What makes this even more complex is the difference between genuine happiness and performed happiness. Real happiness bubbles up naturally from within. It's spontaneous, authentic, and doesn't require effort. But performed happiness is calculated, measured, and requires constant monitoring. It's like the difference between laughing at something genuinely funny versus forcing a laugh at your boss's terrible joke. This is our first sign that someone might be smiling but depressed. They've become professional actors in their own lives, giving everyone around them exactly the performance they think is expected. The tragedy is that they've become so good at this act that even the people closest to them have no idea what's really going on behind that perfectly crafted smile. Now picture this scenario and tell me if it sounds familiar. Sarah gets promoted at work, receives praise from her boss, and her colleagues congratulate her on her achievement. Instead of feeling proud, she immediately starts thinking about all the ways she could have done better. She obsesses over the one small mistake she made in her presentation, completely ignoring the fact that everyone else thought it was brilliant. Sound like anyone you know? Maybe even yourself. This brings us to our second sign, and it's one that sneaks up on people like a silent predator. People with smiling depression often find themselves trapped in what feels like an impossible maze of perfectionism. They don't just want to do well, they need to be flawless in everything they do. It's not enough to get an A on a test, they needed to get the highest A. It's not enough to complete a project successfully, it had to be the best project anyone has ever seen. The emotional weight of this is absolutely crushing. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks, except each rock represents a standard you've set for yourself that's just slightly too high to reach comfortably. Every day, instead of removing rocks, you add more. Your back starts aching, your steps get slower, but you convince yourself that everyone else is carrying the same load, so you push forward. What happens inside their minds when they make even the smallest mistake is heartbreaking. That tiny error, something that a normal person might laugh off or quickly forget, becomes a massive spotlight shining on all their perceived inadequacies. They replay it over and over, like a song stuck on repeat, except this song is telling them they're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. The fear of disappointing others becomes so intense that they start saying yes to everything. Extra projects at work?
Absolutely.
Help a friend move on their only day off?
Of course.
Volunteer for the community event while already juggling 15 other commitments?
Why not?
They become human sponges, soaking up every request and responsibility because saying no feels like admitting weakness. Here's what's really tragic about this whole situation. These individuals often achieve incredible things. Their resumes look amazing, their social media profiles showcase success after success, and everyone around them sees them as the person who has everything together. But inside they feel like frauds. No matter how much they accomplish, there's always a voice whispering that it's not enough, that they could have done better, that they're just fooling everyone. The self-criticism that goes on in their heads is relentless. They have an internal critic that makes the harshest movie reviewer look like a cheerleader. This critic never takes a day off, never gives them credit for their successes, and always finds something to attack them about. It's like having a bully living in your brain, except you can't escape or fight back. If you've been loving the insights in this video and want to show some appreciation for the work that goes into creating content that actually changes lives, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Trust me, your future self will thank you for staying connected to information that transforms your understanding of the world around you. Now, what I'm about to share with you might be the most eye-opening revelation in this entire video, and honestly, once you understand this concept, you'll never look at human behavior the same way again. This knowledge alone could save you years of confusion about yourself or the people in your life. Imagine sitting at your favorite restaurant, surrounded by friends who are laughing and sharing stories. The food tastes amazing, the atmosphere is perfect, and by all accounts, this should be one of those memorable nights that makes you feel grateful to be alive. But instead of feeling joy, warmth, or connection, you feel absolutely nothing. It's like watching a movie of someone else's life, and you're just an observer looking in from the outside. This is our third sign, and it's perhaps the most confusing aspect of smiling depression. These individuals experience something that feels almost supernatural in its strangeness. They go through the motions of happiness. They respond appropriately to jokes. They participate in conversations. But inside there's an emptiness that's difficult to put into words. The disconnect between what their face shows and what their heart feels is absolutely mind-blowing. Their mouth is saying this is so much fun, while their internal experience is more like, I feel nothing at all. It's as if someone has placed a glass wall between them and their own emotions. They can see happiness, they can recognize it, they can even imitate it perfectly, but they can't actually feel it. What makes this even more heartbreaking is how this affects their relationships. People who love them share exciting news, celebrate achievements, or try to create special moments. And while these individuals want to feel the appropriate emotions, they simply can't access them. It's like trying to remember a word that's right on the tip of your tongue, except instead of a word, it's the ability to feel genuine joy or connection. The guilt that comes with this realization is overwhelming. They start thinking they're broken, ungrateful, or selfish. Here they are, surrounded by people who care about them, living lives that others would envy, and they can't even appreciate what they have. This guilt then feeds back into the depression, creating a cycle that becomes harder and harder to break. Many describe feeling like they're wearing an emotional mask that they can't remove. The person everyone sees laughing and engaging is real in some ways, but it's not the complete picture. It's like they've split into two people, the public version who performs happiness and the private version who feels disconnected from everything that should bring joy. The scariest part is how this disconnect starts affecting their sense of identity. They begin questioning who they really are, wondering if the happy person everyone knows is fake, or if the empty person they feel like inside is the real them. This identity crisis adds another layer of confusion to an already complex emotional situation. If this information has been as valuable to you as I believe it has, and you want to support the incredible work that goes into researching and creating content that genuinely transforms lives, consider clicking the thanks button below this video to leave a donation. Every bit of support helps create more life-changing content like this. Now let's continue exploring these crucial signs. This fourth sign represents one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn about human nature. And I need you to understand that what I'm about to share with you should never be taken lightly. The information in this section has the power to completely change how you view the people around you, and might even save someone's life. Behind closed doors, when the world can't see them, people with smiling depression often live completely different lives than what they show in public. It's like they're leading double lives, except both versions are them, just different parts of the same complex human being. The contrast between their public and private selves is so dramatic that it would shock anyone who thinks they know them well. When they're alone, the exhaustion from maintaining their happy facade often becomes overwhelming. They might spend entire weekends in bed, not because they're physically sick, but because their emotional batteries are completely drained from the week of performing happiness. The energy required to be on all the time leaves them with nothing left for themselves. The internal conversations they have when nobody is listening are absolutely heartbreaking. While everyone knows them as positive, encouraging, and supportive, the voice in their head is often cruel, critical, and unforgiving. They say things to themselves that they would never say to their worst enemy. This negative self-talk becomes a constant companion, commenting on everything they do, criticizing every decision, and reinforcing every insecurity. What's particularly devastating is how they might engage in behaviors that directly contradict the image they present to the world. The person who seems to have everything together might be struggling with destructive habits they're too ashamed to share with anyone. These behaviors often serve as ways to cope with the emotional pain they can't express any other way. The physical symptoms that accompany this hidden struggle are often misunderstood by both the individuals themselves and the people around them. They might be constantly tired, despite appearing energetic in social situations. They could have trouble sleeping, even though they seem relaxed and carefree during the day. Headaches, stomach problems, and other physical ailments might appear without obvious medical explanations. Perhaps the most crushing aspect of these secret struggles is the shame and guilt they feel about having these experiences at all. They look at their lives from the outside and see all the things they should be grateful for: good relationships, achievements, opportunities, and they feel terrible for not being able to appreciate these blessings. This guilt becomes another weight they carry in secret. The isolation that comes with these hidden struggles creates a prison of loneliness. They feel like they can't share their real experiences with anyone because it would destroy the image everyone has of them. They worry that people would be disappointed, confused, or would stop depending on them if they knew the truth. So they carry these burdens alone, which only makes everything heavier. This lesson should teach you never to assume that someone's public presentation tells the complete story of their inner world. The strongest seeming people might be fighting the hardest battles, and the most important thing you can do is create space for authentic conversation and genuine connection in your relationships. Now, I need you to take a moment and think about the last time you needed help with something. Maybe it was asking for directions when you were lost, or requesting assistance with a difficult task at work, or even admitting to a friend that you were going through a tough time. Remember how that felt? Now, imagine that instead of being lost on a street, you're lost in your own emotional world. But everyone around you thinks you're the person who never gets lost at all. This brings us to our fifth and final sign, and I want you to really reflect on this because it reveals something profound about human psychology and the barriers we create for ourselves. People with smiling depression find themselves caught in what might be the cruelest catch-22 imaginable. The very thing that makes their condition so difficult to detect, their ability to appear happy and successful, becomes the biggest obstacle preventing them from getting the help they desperately need. Think about this from their perspective for a moment. They've become so skilled at convincing everyone, including themselves sometimes, that they're doing well, that when they finally reach a breaking point and consider seeking help, they face a wall of their own creation. How do you tell a therapist, a doctor, or even a close friend that you're struggling with depression when your entire identity is built around being the person who has everything together? Consider how this plays out in their relationships. They've spent months or years being the strong friend, the reliable family member, the positive co-worker who never complains. Everyone depends on them for emotional support, encouragement, and stability. The thought of admitting that they need help feels like they would be letting down everyone who has come to rely on their strength. It's like being the lighthouse that guides everyone else to safety while drowning in the very waters you're supposed to illuminate. The fear that others won't believe them or will minimize their struggles is absolutely real and often justified. When someone who always appears happy suddenly says they're depressed, the natural response from others might be confusion or dismissal. People might say things like, "But you always seem so positive," or "I wish I had your energy." These well-meaning responses only reinforce the feeling that their internal experience isn't valid or real. What makes this even more complex is the comparison trap they fall into. They look around and see other people who appear to be struggling more obviously, people who seem to have legitimate reasons for needing help, and they convince themselves that their own suffering doesn't measure up. They think thoughts like, "Other people have real problems," or "I should be grateful for what I have," which prevents them from acknowledging their own need for support. The coping mechanisms they've developed, while destructive in the long run, feel absolutely necessary for survival. Taking off the mask, stopping the performance, admitting weakness, all of these feel like they would lead to complete social and professional destruction. So they continue using strategies that provide short-term relief but long-term harm, because the alternative feels even more terrifying. This is why it's so crucial for all of us to recognize these patterns, not just in others but in ourselves. Have you ever found yourself minimizing your own struggles because you thought others had it worse? Have you ever avoided seeking help because you were afraid people wouldn't understand? These are human experiences that extend far beyond depression, and understanding them can transform how we support ourselves and others. The 5 signs we've explored today reveal a truth that might make you feel uncomfortable about how much you actually know about the people in your life. The performance of happiness, the perfectionism trap, the emotional disconnect, the secret struggles, and the help-seeking paradox. These aren't just abstract concepts. They're real experiences affecting millions of people who pass through your life every single day. Now that you know these signs, you'd be doing yourself and everyone around you a massive disservice if you went back to assuming that a smile always means happiness. You'd be absolutely foolish to continue believing that someone who appears successful and positive couldn't possibly be struggling internally. After watching this video, ignoring these signs in yourself or others would be like having a map to buried treasure and choosing to walk away empty-handed. Smiling depression is not something people just get over or snap out of. It's a serious condition that requires the same level of attention and care as any other health concern. But here's the hope that changes everything. Recognition is the first step toward healing. When these patterns are identified and addressed with proper support, recovery becomes not just possible, but probable. If you've recognized yourself in any of these signs, your feelings are completely valid, regardless of how you appear to others. You deserve support, understanding, and professional help just as much as anyone else. The mask you've been wearing doesn't make your pain any less real. For those who recognize these patterns in someone else, the most powerful thing you can do is create safe spaces for authentic conversation. Sometimes just knowing that someone sees beyond the performance can be life-changing. The YouTube algorithm has analyzed your viewing patterns and knows exactly what video will serve you best next. That suggested video appearing on your screen right now isn't random. It's specifically chosen to continue your journey of understanding human psychology and improving your life. Click on it now, because the insights waiting for you there will build perfectly on everything you've learned today. Your brain is primed and ready for the next level of knowledge that's about to transform your perspective even further.